We look at ourselves as the bridge between the traditional financial and the crypto world. So that's why we want to be the bank and issue stablecoin bank accounts directly out of your stablecoin. We all know about the breadth and scale of NWC, 100,000 attendees globally with phenomenal success. But I think it's the content and the engagement, the energy, which is vibrant, ebullious. But I think it's a melting pot of corporates, telecom, startups, especially this 4 years from now, where you have investors, startups, corporate, cutting edge technology providers all under the same roof. That's phenomenal. We love it here.
We're wrapping up shop here at MWC 2025. It's been a super productive conference. We networked with a ton of mobile network operators, and the booth generated a ton of interest. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next conference.
We want to know that.
Hey everybody, my name's Grant Key. I'm the lead protocol engineer for Telcoin Network. I'll show you our digital cash demo. We've deployed several digital cash options on Testnet. This is a Diri Testnet. We have selected our e-Mexican peso, and you can see from a list of options, we've got a wallet with several balances, but today we're gonna swap for Canadian dollars. Set an amount, we'll do 2,000. And we can see the price impact. The minimum amount received. We set our parameters for the swap, and now we're ready to sign. For the demo on desktop, we're using MetaMask. It's an open source EVM wallet. Telcoin Network is fully compatible with all the EVM products on the market. And once we've signed our transaction, it's now with the network. The nodes are reaching consensus, they're validating it, they're exchanging that information to make sure it's a legitimate transaction. And once that's reached on Testnet, it's about 5 seconds. We should be able to see the information in the block explorer. So here we can see our status was successful. The block that the transaction was included in, 100,593. And we signed our transaction just 22 seconds ago. The power of Telcoin network with the instant finality, every time a block is produced, the settlement is cleared, that transaction is permanent. And for very low transaction fees and very fast block times. Here you can have a look at our block explorer where we see blocks being produced in real time. This has a lot of information for us, including the token price, the latest block number, and the most recent transactions on the network. And there you have it. It's as easy as that. Users can swap stable tokens now on our Telcoin wallet found on iOS and Android.
We look at ourselves as the bridge between the traditional financial and the crypto world. So that's why we want to be the bank and issue stablecoin bank accounts directly out of your stablecoin. We all know about the breadth and scale of NWC, 100,000 attendees globally with phenomenal success. But I think it's the content and the engagement, the energy, which is vibrant, ebullient. But I think it's a melting pot of corporates, telecom, startups, especially this 4 years from now, where you have investors, startups, corporate, cutting-edge technology providers all under the same roof. That's phenomenal. We love it here.
Hey guys. Good, give me a second, I'm switching the streams over. Wait a few minutes.
All right, we're wrapping up shop here at MWC 2025. It's been a super productive conference. We networked with a ton of mobile network operators, and the booth generated a ton of interest. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next conference.
What's up, everyone?
What's going on, Parker?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good, man. Good. Just,
Hi, Parker. Hi, Adam.
hey.
Hey.
So Leo asked me short notice to lead a meeting. It's gonna be a mess, but
We have
We
so
believe
much
in you.
belief. Yes,
You got
we
this.
believe.
What? You want to do it, Parker? That's all right. All right.
I can do it if you don't
No,
feel
it's
comfortable.
no. We will manage. You can blame me afterwards. All right. I think it's 10 p.m. We can start with the opening, right?
Yeah. I think, Are we live, Derek?
Yep, we're good to go.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. Welcome. My name is Dwight. I will lead this meeting for the first time, so please bear with me. Any mistakes you can take away. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our 18th recurring platform and Treasury Council meeting, where we continue our journey of transparent governance and community engagement for the Telcoin ecosystem. Today's agenda encompasses several vital updates on Telcoin governance initiatives, recent platform developments, and a preview of upcoming and in progress TIP and TELLAB proposals that will shape our future. I will try to post the agenda in the chat now. That's
I've got it for you. 1 second.
Perfect.
Let me share my screen really quick.
That's great. The purpose behind these gatherings, these regular meetings serve as the heartbeat of our governance system, fulfilling multiple essential functions, creating a transparent window into council operations for our community, providing structured forums for discussing and refining proposals, offering proposers a platform to present their ideas directly to the council members, enabling community members to witness, discuss, and help shape these proposals, delivering consistent platform updates to keep everyone informed, maintaining open lines of communication between council members, facilitating direct community engagement through our interactive Q&A sessions. Our governance foundation. I'd like to take a moment to reaffirm that the Platform and Treasury Council represent the global governance layer for both the Telcoin platform and association. Working in concert, these councils oversee platform-wide systems, shape associations, social policies, and steward the Tel Treasury with care and foresight. The Telcoin platform governance system, self-organized and determined by the 4 minor groups and their elected councils within the association, focuses on 2 primary duties: provisioning, planning and financing platform infrastructure construction and maintenance, providing information and delivering other collective good essentials to our ecosystem's health. Second, TEL allocation, regulating TEL sustainability within the platform for the 4 minor groups to harvest based on their production according to rules established by their respective councils. Our council commitments. As your elected representatives, we embrace several key responsibilities, thoughtfully reviewing and voting on snapshot proposals, maintaining consistent attendance at council meetings, providing transparent, regular updates to the community, vigilantly monitoring platform systems, upholding and enforcing our operational framework. With that out of the way, we have our first meeting point of the agenda, and going to the second one, a short recap of our last meeting 2 weeks ago. In our last meeting, we discussed media and marketing campaigns at great length. Storm joined to give a hint to the future plans and more to follow in this meeting today. Update on the network, MNOs, code freeze, etc. If you haven't already, I would suggest to go listen to yesterday's TELX meeting on Telcoin Association YouTube. So yeah, that's been the most important points. Parker, do you want to add something to the recap of last meeting, or should we continue with the third agenda point of the day?
I think we're good. So yeah, I can just jump in with Another recap here. We're expanding council meeting coverage, as you know, to these to Google Meet and Zoom, and BZ is taking care of that. So big shout out to BZ for all the work he's been doing. So yeah, we have another liquid delegation ceremony. Will from the platform council resign from his seat today, and so as a result, we're going to initiate a liquid delegation to fill the developer seat. Remember, we've got the four minor groups like Dwight was talking about earlier, which encompasses really the entire value chain for blockchain. So you have the application layer with application developers, their users who interact with the services on the lower levels of the platform, i.e. Telex, and then you have validators on Telcoin network. So there's these four different minor groups that de facto are in every single blockchain network, but within our system, we've empowered them through our rules with property rights over the system and really recognize their and given them the power to harvest native token and vote. And so, each of the four minor groups is treated equally within governance. And so the application developer got representative, which will be re-electing via what's called a liquid delegation. And for those who aren't familiar, it's a fancy term for a special election in between your annual election ceremonies to either replace a council member who, for instance, we've historically had situations where people have not shown up to these meetings consistently without providing a rationale. And that's of course our duty, right? We have to show up to these meetings. And so they're a way for us to hold everything accountable, but also to ensure that if someone for whatever reason needs to resign, then we can immediately fill that seat. And that seat, this one is a developer one. And so it's you're representing the interests of not only developers with today we have Telcoin Holdings was the first developer. We'll have we've have the game company coming in and some other ones, as well as a lot of exciting things once the network goes live. And so you're representing not only the interests of Telcoin as a wallet developer, which is totally unique to and distinct from, let's say, a liquidity miner. But you're also representing the future interests of all developers to ever come in. So it's important to note that. And so from here, basically, I think people are pretty familiar with it, but I think we're also getting these awesome new attendance numbers as a result of these efforts. So yeah, basically we're going to transfer Will's NFT to my voting address. As the one of the TAO members, our duty is to substitute on behalf of council members when there is none in position. It's to ensure that we can continue making decisions and voting while the minor group elects a council member, the council member that needs to be replaced. So I'll vote on their behalf, but then any tell, because for each council member, these NFTs not only connote you governance authority to vote on the snapshot proposals in your domain, but you also get a constant stream every block to this NFT of TEL. And so, of course, I won't be keeping that TEL. I will then transfer it to the TAO so that we can have more money to plan and finance things without having to pull from the Treasury. And so, yeah, I'll vote on his behalf and I'll represent developers. Considering I work at one, that makes some sense until we elect a candidate. And so we're going to submit a forum post for people to submit their liquid delegation proposals, their nomination proposals to be elected. And so yeah, we're gonna get on that. I think we should just go ahead and make that forum proposal tomorrow, Leo, if you're on the call, so that we can just get this out earlier and have someone in place, ideally by the 25th, or the vote happen by the 25th. So the application window closes 24 hours before this snapshot vote is posted. So you need to, and if we go with the 25th, you need to make sure that you submit your nomination application 24 hours before then. And then candidates will be invited to introduce themselves at the council meeting before the special election or the liquid delegation. These votes will last 7 days, and the winner is going to be required to pass a know your member check. This is inclusive of NDAs and other things that are necessary for us to operate in the real world as people, while still, of course, maintaining the confidentiality that each, or with privacy, right? Because privacy is a choice that folks want. So some other points. So yeah, basically the group that's going to be electing is developers, and Telcoin's the only developer. So we will be voting. Certainly, we elected BZ to the TAN Council, many others, in fact, outside of our organization. The only thing that we ask is that you represent the interests of all developers, current and future, in your voting. And so another thing is, and I mentioned earlier, you really have to be able to make this 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern time US meeting each week. That means generally it's pretty hard in some places around the world to be on this council. It's just, we have a global association here, and it's frankly, it's kind of hard to get everybody around the world coordinated on the same time zones. And so anyways, yeah, I think if everyone's okay with we basically need to decide on, the vote start date, and when yeah, we do the forum proposal for people to begin submitting that. So I mean, if no one is opposed to doing the vote live on Friday, the 25th of July, lasting through the next Friday, then let's do it. If you think that we should do it on a Monday or need more time, or I mean, I think 2 weeks is a good amount of time for people to be able to submit their um, submit their candidacy. So thoughts, is everyone happy with the 25th being our election date, or the start of it, for snapshot?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Right on.
All right, thank you, Parker. On to the next point, our fourth agenda point, the Telcoin network update from Grant.
Hey everybody, so Telcoin network update this week. We made a lot of progress with MOUs and just setting out the clarification for understanding between us and potential MNO partners. Something that I've been working on now is to clarify a detailed project plan that would outline specifically what we hope to get out of different phases of this, including running testnet nodes and launching mainnet and Genesis, and then sharing all those KPIs. So we're in the process of just kind of finalizing that and reviewing that with our future partners. So all in all, outside of code, I think that's going really well. There was a lot of talk about the testnet and July 1st, and I had originally shared July 1st because that was something that we were going to start incentivizing with MNOs starting July 1st. But because of the MOU delay, we haven't started that process yet, and we haven't issued any, there's no issuance yet for that program. But I will keep everybody updated whenever we do finally get our testnet online. It is just a matter of weeks, so I don't have an exact date for you, but yeah, I will share it when that's ready. In other news, the audit progress has been happening. It's going very well. It's definitely been it's exceeded our expectations in terms of productivity. So it's been really, really great to find a lot of like the feedback and the participation from the researchers. So we have, I think I've mentioned this before, but we did have a little bit of an issue with like with the advent of LLMs, just so there's a lot of people who thought, you can just ask ChatGPT to find all the bugs in the world. We got everything from like, this will never produce a single block, even though we have plenty of tests that do that, to, just other wild assertions that are clearly inaccurate. Since then, the judges have implemented a mandatory KYC, so that which has helped kind of limit some of that input. But we still are looking at close to 800 findings. Now, out of the, I don't know, close to 200 that we've sifted through that were marked and behind the automated filter as like not worth looking at, I think our team has agreed that those weren't worth looking at. Part of the judge's responsibility is to go through that and look and to assess those findings. For any sort of finding that is they're unsure about, they will mark as potentially invalid, and that gets escalated to our team to evaluate and to kind of to assess with the judges if this particular submission is relevant to our threat model. So I was informed just this week that, based on this number of submissions, et cetera, that our competition is scheduled to end in July 7th. We're looking at, we're going into the last week of our competition here. And with that, we're looking at potentially having all the findings 2 weeks after the last week. So 3 weeks from now, I closed my calendar. But anyway, I did want to share that I think from the latest update from the Spearbit team that we're working with, it's looking like the competition, we're hoping to have it wrapped up by early August, if not the middle of August. At that point, we've in today's Tel IP, we've also requested some additional funding for the follow-up audits that we needed. So again, this is the first audit where the entire protocol is in scope, which includes the smart contracts, which have undergone one private audit already, and the Rust protocol, which has all of our networking, our public-facing endpoints, our consensus logic, our execution layer. There's a lot of really important. It's the rest of the protocol. This is the first audit for that. So we're really excited to get these findings and address all these findings, which we will as soon as we can. We've already begun addressing several findings, and once that's complete, we've requested some budget to have specific parts of the code audited with full focus on, for instance, our networking layer, full focus on just the consensus layer, where we remove the full scope of the code and just have very targeted, specific areas of research to really maximize the security on our most critical infrastructure. So, yeah, all in all, I'm really, really happy with our team's performance. I think we're doing well. I was a little bit surprised to see just how much submissions were in this competition, and with the timeline expectation kind of being early mid-August to wrap this up. But again, we are going to prioritize security first and foremost for the protocol before we launch mainnet. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant, for the both updates. Really interesting stuff. Let me find the agenda. So next point on the agenda is our media and marketing campaigns update by our Storm partners. Ermias and Julio, are you in the call by any chance?
So I'll just jump in. They sent over the contract to us yesterday, and I've been in constant communication with them. For those who don't know, we had a kickoff call with Storm last week, and it went really well. I think we're all really excited. They've provided everything that they said they would in terms of, they got the contract to us yesterday, and they also got the Q&A sort of data dump area for us to just like provide all the possible information about this, answer all of their questions to help them dial in. So all of those things have happened, and I want to give my a little tip of the hat to them for really working with us in advance of the contract being signed. I think that's a really awesome sign of good faith and shows that they just want to get down to business. I think we did a really great job in choosing them for a variety of reasons, and I'm really looking forward to working with them. And it just comes down to getting them the info and consistently working with them to improve what they're doing, and I feel confident that I have a really solid set of uh, very long docs to share, um, that will be super useful. And um, yeah, so just overall, I think I probably speak for most of the council members in saying that we're stoked about them, and very optimistic, and in a good spot. And so they sent back responses to a couple red lines that we put in there. None of them are anything crazy. Just lawyers go back and forth. And once they send over an agreement that is amenable from a legal perspective via Tim, who's the head of legal for the TAO, the contracting entity that works on behalf of the association to partner with people. It's the arms, is where we're the brain. I think over the next 24 hours, we should have a contract that is good to go, and then I'll share it with the councils. And if I don't hear anything back by like end of day tomorrow, or Monday, depending on when they get their red lines back to us. It's late in Switzerland. So yeah, we'll try and get that up tomorrow. Make sure everybody sees it before, and then as the executive director of the POW, I'll sign it if there's no dissenting opinions. Overall, it's very much so what they have said they would do. I think things like payment terms and the like. There's a little bit of back and forth on that. I think we've determined that we're going to do net 30 and do it in increments over time. So I think we sent over a sort of 4 quarterly one, and yeah, so we're going to get it done, and very excited. And that's all on that front. I'm not sure that they're joining today. So looks like there might have been a question from.
Thank you, Parker. Sounds good. Really excited. So on to the 7th agenda point, the TELIP funding for provisioning and incentives. And Parker, it's your point again. Quite a lot of talking today for you.
Yeah, I'm back. What's up, everybody? So yeah, as we've discussed over the last months, we've and made it a ton of awesome proposals that have gone through, from marketing through day-to-day operational expenses related to the audits, and the payments for the long-term services agreement with Telcoin, and also additionally some additional incentives for MNOs, and of course the marketing expenses. I created a proposal to basically set out plan and finance all of those, the different proposals that we've done so far. So and what we have in front of us, so that we can ensure that we both develop the network and the ecosystem in line with what our role is, which is to provide infrastructure and information and contract with entities, as well as to incentivize miners. And so basically, yeah, we have costs related to the Telcoin network audit, as well as some technology expenses that we proposed, which would amount to roughly $625,000, or 210 million TEL at a price of 0.003. Anyone who remembers the last proposal, we had done, I guess I didn't take full ownership for marking the price to market at 625 for. And now of course the price has decreased. I believe there are some people that called me out at the time for not doing the right pricing, and so I just take full ownership for it. But ultimately, we wanted to, in this case, kind of overcorrect so that any excess budget that we don't use towards the audit is, we can vote as the council at the end of the year to allocate it externally. We've also proposed 100 million tel at the same price of 0.003 tel for exchange listings. I think that's an area where some commentary would be useful, especially from Squirtel. So it's at 100 million tel for expected cost of $300,000. I also think there's been some discussion surrounding TAN Council potentially financing some exchange areas. So, maybe that number needs to be bigger. Kind of just working from it seemed to be like a reasonable amount of money, but the intensity of the community's preferences related to this to determine how much financing goes towards it. We're at a very critical time. Everything that we've been working on for years is now coming to life, and so I certainly am, these numbers are malleable and subject to being refined by the community's input. It's just kind of hard to be like, all right, let's put $1 million towards exchange listings right now. I mean, for me, at least, to put that on paper. But if the community and the councils feel differently, then we can certainly edit this. Remember, these forum proposals are drafts meant to be discussed by everyone before going to snapshot. So there's additionally marketing and awareness campaigns. So this is the Tel IP RFQ that we have with Storm. It's priced in Swiss franc. So that's at today's prices, 160,000 Swiss francs or $200,000 at 0.80 USD per Swiss franc. So that's exactly 66,666,666. So it's maybe we should change the numbers just slightly so it's not fully devilish. But anyways, yeah, that's the allocation for them, and we're going to be paying them over time. And I think it's reasonable to assume that there would be excess from that as well. And then we have unfunded approved proposals that includes the proposal for BZ to do what he's doing now, which is migrate to Zoom and Google Meet and stream for us across all these platforms, drive a ton of attention to it. That's not like we value you and we value your time, and of course we want to make sure that you're fairly compensated. And so that amounts to roughly 900K tel or $481 per month to be more precise. And then for the shared service agreement, Telcoin Holdings, there's a variety of areas such as the market maker loans to make it, the cost of labor towards the development of the network, and early sort of administration, validator costs, technology services, and all sort of in line with the shared services agreement. And then the final one is the incentives budget. I think it's reasonable and probably a really good idea to incentivize validators, these MNOs, with more tel, or at least have that at our disposal at this critical time. It's in that proposal, it says, bootstrap phase. And what that is, bootstrapping is basically, we're solving what people refer to as the cold start problem. And so, like with Bitcoin, for instance, you would mine 50 Bitcoin per block if you're an early miner. And so the rewards were really high. And that was to incentivize network participation. And they sort of over time decrease. And so when you don't have fees to drive revenue to validators, the cost of operating a node can exceed the revenue that you get. And so you want to have substantial rewards, because these validators, not only are these massive enterprises with billions of users that having a network of them enables us to distribute to the largest possible audience in the world. But also, we want to ensure that we can get them in the game as fast as possible. And so I think with that discretionary budget for initial incentives, that will at least be something that we can earmark towards that. And if we don't end up using it during the year, then we can carry it over to next year, or the platform council generally can make a decision at that time for what we do with it. But ultimately, I think the more validator incentives, the better. And we all know how big of an opportunity we have right now in bringing the biggest validator set to this new infrastructure that really hasn't achieved scale yet. So and we're, I think, the most well positioned to do that, because you get a validator, they have mobile financial services application, and you do that with every mobile operator in the world, and all of a sudden you have all the users and the most well adopted network for blockchain in the world, and that's just great for everyone. So overall, the rationale is, we had adjusted market conditions, and the price of TEL, from when we made the initial proposals, down substantially. We're in this critical network launch phase, and there are a variety of different important proposals that need to be financed in order for us to move forward. So all the excess TEL will be preserved for future use and allocated by the platform council via TIP at the end of the year. And each of these the TEL allocations will, as a result, go to a variety of different safes, and then go to where they're going to be paid. So I think I just walked through the whole proposal, and hopefully it was pretty solid. But I would like to open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Parker. We already have 2 questions in the chat from Ty. First one is, how long will the phase last?
Right. Yeah. So the bootstrap. I mean, basically, what we're saying is we want to, the more incentives, the more economic opportunity we have to bring more validators in to the network early. And so the bootstrap phase lasts as long as it takes for us to achieve real scale, and I think is just an extra set of tokens to be used towards this validator initiative that um you know ultimately I think we just want the more the better. So the bootstrap phase loss is as long as it takes to get the networks live. And how we allocate the 50 million TEL, in my view, is to increase the initial issuance that we distribute to validators upon sign up, so they have more buy into the network. But I also think that it could be used towards block rewards. And there's still, of course, all the incentives that are earmarked for validators. But I think if we're going to do a big proposal where we move TEL from the Treasury, having more now is better. But yeah, I mean, in terms of when is the network considered minimum viable from a security decentralization perspective? And that's when there's 10 different MNOs that are producing blocks on Telcoin main network with full bridging capabilities in place, and full testing already done with the validators to work through the bugs and all those things. So I think because the reason I say 10 is because after there's 10 and there's the main network, then the governance of the Telcoin network and in terms of incentives and the like all go towards all go uh so that's all transferred over to the platform and Treasury Council via TEL IP. So right now, while the network's in development, the TAO who's developing it has the management authority, governance authority over the network, because you need to make changes. And once it's live, now we have a network that is secure, it's operational, and it serves all four of the minor groups, and it's so critical for our property rights because that's the technology it is. And so basically, that's the sort of technical bootstrapping phase is past 10. As you've heard from Paul yesterday, we're certainly past that number, and really excited about it. But there's 750 mobile network operators that serve over 7 billion users, and we want them all, right? That's what we're doing here. So I figure if we're gonna allocate all this TEL, we might as well just add more to that in our arsenal to be able to use. And any of those from that 50 million TEL that goes towards any initial incentives that we'll share that in advance. I think it's maybe it's unlikely that we even tap into it at this during the year, but I just think having it versus having to do another proposal for it, which I'm also fine with, makes sense. So yeah, my answers are really long today, I'm realizing, and like taking everyone's time.
Thank you. Adam, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so it's just a quick one on the exchange side. So I appreciate the increase there. I think one of the biggest aspects we need to account for is also the liquidity aspect. So if we don't for whatever pair, it then also causes an issue because then the exchange can't work correctly. So the bigger the exchange, the more liquidity they need. Also, we need to factor in make it, so being the market maker will take their fee as well, and different aspects like that that also need to be looked into. Because if that comes into the budget, then that's even the liquidity alone will take quite a hefty chunk.
Yeah, you make a really good point, and I think of course, Dwight, as leader over at Make It, one of the founders, fortunate enough to have on the council, and I think we need to kind of do and I think that's part of today's agenda is we just need to do a sort of accounting of all the TEL that is allocated where for market making, and determine which of those exchanges would we prefer to forego providing constant liquidity to versus these new ones that you're uncovering it so that we can prudently use that towards efficiently getting the outcomes that we want from it, which are new users, bridging to Telcoin network and using our ecosystem and interacting with the token. So yeah, I think doing a little bit of just kind of figuring out how much TEL is available via Make It, how much TEL we need in total for the exchange stuff to hit the community's goals on it. Then we can maybe we should just fill in that gap with this proposal. And I think there was also a TAN council discussion to potentially allocate towards exchange listings too. I don't know how far that's been taken. I just heard about it through the grapevine. But yeah, so so you think basically it's too low?
I think if depending on what we're looking at listings, so there is the listing fee, but then also you need to front token liquidity for it to actively be utilized. Because if they don't have enough liquidity, it also falls short, which then can also be detrimental.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to the requirements of the exchange, right?
Yeah.
And organic users using the exchange as well. So of course, at the start, you need to provide some initial liquidity depending on the requirements, and you need to make sure you meet them at all times, right? But if it's an exchange heavily used by the community, you usually can, leverage from that and see that, you can trim down the liquidity. But I think we can work something out here. I provided a small report regarding current liquidity to Leo some time ago, but we can certainly discuss this within the council and provide with a detailed answer. I think there's potential here.
Yeah, perfect.
I think that's not the stone in the way to a new listing.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, I think we over jumped a question from Ty regarding the incentives. He had a question, with 50 MNOs, will 50 million TEL be enough for validator incentives?
Yeah, no, I thought I tried to answer it, but basically,
sorry.
the response is that, it's at this phase, I think it's really a smart idea to have more TEL available to incentivize mobile networks, especially as, one joins, then another joins publicly, then it becomes a game of musical chairs. At least that's my opinion on it. I think that, having that available as an asset that we don't have to go and do another proposal to unlock, and just kind of, transparently, stating when we're going to use it, when we decide to use it, if we need to use it, and if we don't, then we either carry it over to next year's incentives for Telcoin Network, or another area that the platform council determines. But overall, yeah, I think 10 validators is bootstrapped. We have a lot more than that are going to join the network. And so having more is good. I think we had kind of allocated enough for like 20, and we just expect to have more than that. And so yeah, these proposals can take some time. So I figured everybody's probably in favor of, getting more incentives towards MNOs and getting them on the chain.
Makes sense. Thank you, Parker. So we have another question from Nick, aka Blue Lights. If we can give a short overview of the new council seat that is coming up, what is expected, and what kind of candidate are you looking for?
Yeah, and I'll also dovetail in Adam's question from before, about the other potential developers building on the network, on Telcoin application network. But this seat is for developers, so you're representing the interests of all the application developers, which is specific minor group that earns TEL rewards and votes. In this seat on the platform council. And so the only voter as of right now, because the other ones are in development, the other ones, I mean, all the mobile networks that want to build, as well as the public applications that have said they're going to participate, which include the game company and Power Hive. So this role basically is, yeah, you're participating in the platform council. It's expected that you vote on every proposal, that you show up to these meetings, and that you thoughtfully work with the community and the council to achieve our goals of building out a sustainable ecosystem. And so, yeah, you're representing developer seat, both future and existing ones. There's plenty of representatives that don't work at Telcoin that are of developers, like our very own BZ here. And I will reach out to Power Hive and to the game company. One of them's in Kenya and the other one is in Dubai. So anyone who's familiar with those time zones relative to right now, I could see how that would be like difficult, but maybe they have some folks that the time would be conducive to them. So I'll ask them, but overall, I think we welcome the community of folks, especially those that are inclined to want to work on application stuff and, are interested in that. And yeah, so hopefully that answered the question.
Thank you, Parker. So I think we can jump to our next agenda point, which is narrowing down exchanges. So I think Squirtle is out today, right? So Adam.
Okay, so yeah, so last week the proposals, we had a kind of essentially a meeting where we're deciding across a variety of different proposals within the council. So we have narrowed things down. There is a clear front runner so far. There is a possibility of another joining the ranks shortly as well, in the sense of another proposal being out there that, in my opinion, could be another front runner here. So once again, I said it at the last meeting, once it has been fully redacted, you'll see it posted onto the forums. But yeah, essentially the main criteria we've been focusing on is regional accessibility and essentially a strong compliance first approach. So by that, what do I mean is we're paying close attention to who's got what licenses, the different compliance standards. So you've got all the different like MiCA and everything like that as well that's coming in. Everyone's got to tick the boxes, and essentially reliable ways as well for users to easily on and off ramp as well. So as things do start to move forward, you will definitely see us begin to tell the world, should we say? So that will happen more actively. With the insights we've gained as well from the meeting with Storm during the agency and association meeting that Parker mentioned earlier, the momentum is just going to continue to build. So yeah, whether you've been with Telcoin from the beginning, regularly tuning into the council meetings, or whether you've just joined as well, you're new to Telcoin, whatever you're at, this is genuinely a really exciting moment. If you haven't already, I highly would recommend checking out last night's council meeting. Paul Nunia himself, he dropped into the chat to share some updates as well. So what I'll do actually is I've just pinged a link into the chat. Derek, are you good to share that as well?
Yep,
I know
absolutely.
you're doing the stream side. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
do you want me to play it, or what would you like me to do for everybody?
no, just so everyone's got it. If they're viewing on any other platform,
Of course.
just post it into the comments there. I can't stress enough, go watch it. There are some absolute crackers in there. It's amazing, and you will understand why it is a very exciting time. So I think the community themselves always have certain questions anyway about exchange side. I know we've gone through a few bits and there's been some in the chat, but yeah, council members, we have seen the full unredacted versions. So please do remember, be cautious with anything that you do share in this chat, as you're privy to the information that's not yet public. So keep any specifics like company names or anything like that under wraps, just because I don't want to get in trouble, really. So yeah, if there are any questions, please ping them in the chat, and we can go into this either now or at the end, whenever's easier for everyone. I'm happy to, whenever's easier, to open the floor up.
So we do a internal council meeting and like this, and just walk through it, everything together in a confidential setting, and just like talk through it all in that way, because it's of course very sensitive info. And to reiterate, yeah, like you don't want to get you in trouble, and so everyone knows, Cortel getting in trouble means we all do with any particular exchange. So we want to get it right. Do you think that's a good course of action, or do we feel comfortable with consensus right now?
Yeah, so from the consensus, there was quite an overwhelming vote for one of them. But I'm more than happy to have further chats as well, because we've essentially put it into our private chat that we've got our channels, and we've put it to votes and bits like that internally, just so and then we've asked questions, and therefore everyone's seen on the Google Drive, where everything is essentially stored, what each one entails as well for the finer details. but I'm happy to do follow-up meetings so we can, because we've done the votes now of essentially where we're thinking. So I think a finalized private one to say, yeah, this is where we're at. If anyone's got any hesitations, and essentially more to the point, when, because when is going to be the key factor as well, because everything from listing dates and all that does just go into a negotiation with them. That's probably one of the easiest parts as well to work out. So it's more, when do not only the exchange, but when do we feel is the right time? So do we want to tie it into any certain launches, or do we want to build momentum and work with Storm? So we've actually going to have a lot more consistency of news and everything like that to then build momentum. But there's definitely a strategy we need to formulate properly to ensure that it gets the best launch as well, for excitement for both community, for the council, and generally if it ties in with any other aspects Telcoin is related doing, then amazing. But I think that could probably be another conversation.
Yeah, if there's consensus, then I don't want to hold anything back on it, because I already am cool with everyone that we've put forward. It really just comes down to the costs and stuff, that maybe that's where the meeting would make sense. I'll make myself available if you guys think it's the right call to just do a quick 30-minute sanity check and everything on it.
I think that would be good too, to just kind of, to Adam's point, just, formalize, like, any sort of like launch strategy that would just kind of help escalate the success.
Oh, nice. Welcome, Storm. I've just seen it pop up in chat.
Storm, you want to come on up?
Hi guys, I just heard the name of the company.
Hey Julio, glad you could make it. We just wanted to say hi, and if you had anything to share, but by all means, yeah, we're just glad you joined.
Perfect. No, to be honest, I was following, but from not my corporate account. So when I heard the word Storm, I just thought, okay, let's go, let's hop in with the official Storm account.
Well, that's awesome. I think it speaks to this. You guys like really want to get stuff done and are showing up, and that's so much alive. So welcome. But if you don't have anything specific right now, we'll just keep running through it. Does that sound right?
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you everyone for your input. Really interesting stuff at the moment, I would say. We had a question from Ty. I think I can answer that one really quick. He asked if there's a clear front runner, why not just proceed with that one? I think it's important that we make a decision considering all sides, all information, and yeah, exchange listings are pretty complex, and you have to gather a lot of information. You have to review potential contracts, requirements, etc., etc. So it's important to make the right choice here, especially when you think about how much money is spent. So I think the council is really getting their hands dirty, if you want to put it that way, and figuring everything out, and making sure we are making the right decision as a community, as a whole. But I think it's a clear direction where it's going, and we will keep you posted, guys. So the voting the guys mentioned was yesterday, right? So hot off the press. It's not, we haven't been hiding it for days and weeks. All right. I think I'm up, right? With an update from a market making perspective, a new agenda point we wanted to add to the bi-weekly agenda. So I came up with some information from the past 30 days, and thank you for sharing, Derek. I put some nice graphs so you can see what happened in the past weeks, and those are averages. And yeah, don't take them too seriously. It's always just yeah, a point to see where we stand, what happened in the past weeks, and I will share some additional information vocally. So regarding some topics like the liquidity itself across all the exchanges we are managing has been pretty stable across the last months, averaging around 10K in single-sided 2% debt liquidity. What does that mean? So usually if you go to an exchange and you look into an order book, you have all these orders and buy and sells. And what's important usually for a trader and for everyone else, for CoinMarketCap, if you look there, they usually focus on the 2% liquidity. So from the current price up and down, you have a 2% depth, and usually this liquidity within this 4% gap, I would say, is tracked and is really important. That's where the exchanges are focusing on. That's where everyone else looks at. So you can have a lot of liquidity, 10% overpriced, underpriced. Nobody really cares about it because then the coin's not really tradable. If you have like $5 in the 2% depth, you have a huge spread. And if people want to buy, I don't know, like $50, you're moving the price heavily. So what you want to have is a big liquidity within the 2% depth, and I think 10K per side as an average per exchange is not that bad. Regarding spread, spread is the difference from, let me get it right, from the lowest sell order to the highest buy order. So basically determining the current price level, and you have a percentage in between, and the lower this percentage is, the less loss you have when you buy and sell your tokens, right? And the spread was an average 0.28%. Usually the requirements of most exchanges is from 0.5 to 1% in that area. So yeah, that's a good slippage for everyone to trade and to be active. Regarding volume, could be better, to be honest. So we are looking at an average trading volume per day of like approximately 140K, with some notable peaks. If you look at the chart on the top left, we had mid-June a peak, and yeah, end of June, 23rd and 25th of June, two pretty big trading days. And to everyone in the community, I know a lot of you guys are always focusing on volume, and you always want to have big volume, but you have to reflect yourself in how you trade. Most of you, I guess, own own another token, Bitcoin, whatever. Ask yourself, do you go every day onto an exchange or to your ledger, to a DEX, whatever, and are you trading every day? Most likely not, right? So usually you want to buy something, you want to hold it, or if the price is up, you want to sell a little bit, or if the price is low, you want to buy a little bit. So usually what volume is reflecting is the usual market movement. So what usually happens is, if the whole market is moving, like today, for example, new all-time highs, then everyone else is trading, right? So usually every token, especially in the altcoin market, is moving within the market. But having that said, it's important to have a constant trading volume to give confidence to the traders that you have a high quality project, obviously, right? And that's something we are continuously working on to make the tokens more tradable. Sorry about that. to incentivize the community and traders to have more volume, to generate more volume, to trade more, because it gives confidence, right? Yeah. All right. So another topic is trading frequency. What does that mean? Trading frequency is usually if you want to look at the day of 24 hours, and that's a pro and a con of the crypto industry, that you can trade every day, all day, every time. And trading frequency is usually if you look at every second of the day, how much percent was traded. And we are currently looking at an average of 47%, which is actually pretty good for an altcoin. And obviously on the peak days, it's a lot higher. But 47% I think is quite good. And you usually see that when you look at your charts. You have a always moving chart up and down. And if you look at smaller projects, you see a no moving chart for like an hour, you can determine that the trading frequency is usually a lot lower and something, I don't know, like 10% or less. Price stability, we can frame ourselves that the price of TEL was pretty stable. So we didn't have huge price movement. It wasn't as volatile as other cryptocurrencies in the past 30 days, which can be looked at as a good sign or a bad sign. I wouldn't say it's per se good or bad, but it shows the overall approach of the crypto industry and the overall market, not only in crypto, but the whole world. I mean, I guess you all watch the media. Everyone is a little bit, I would say, sidelined, waiting for the big news to come. I don't know if it's been today, but the market moved a little bit today. But let's hope that changes in the next 30 days and we see some upwards movement from TEL. So in summary, TEL showed a relatively stable price movement within a modest upward trend in the early July, contrasting the broader crypto market with higher volatility. Yeah, that's what I just said. And the trading volume remained moderate with notable spikes in June. But generally, we are lacking a little bit behind in price and in trading volume if you compare it to similar altcoins. But I think with recent news and what's currently happening within the community, I think we're ready to pick up, and I'm confident that we'll see some movement in the next weeks. No financial advice, obviously. That's it from me. If you have questions, happy to take them.
Well, great job. These transparency reports are really helpful to me, everyone else, and looks like you guys are doing certainly doing the best with what you have here. I guess my questions would just be, and maybe I haven't thought about them enough to speak, especially this late in the meeting, but just like maybe figuring out which ones of those exchanges we could decide not to continue market making for in favor of some of the big dogs that we foresee coming in with our initiatives here.
Yeah. A really good question. So one thing is that we officially are not supporting KuCoin, but unofficially we do, because KuCoin is still such a big market for TEL, and we just want to take that liquidity and mirror it to other exchanges. I would say the second, or I mean, the two biggest ones currently are KuCoin and Bybit. After that, I would say probably BitGet. And after that, you could discuss about everything. So I would put BingX, LBank, Btrue, CoinStore, everyone up to the podium to talk about them, about potentially limiting the liquidity, trim it down to use somewhere else, or even shut it off completely. Because from my perspective, and it's been reflecting the past weeks and months for all of these exchanges, They're not bad, don't get me wrong, but they're not the big movers, right? They bring a lower, smaller community. They're not the big movers for the project right now. So if you see price movement in TEL and big volumes, it's usually coming from KuCoin or Bybit. Bybit has been gaining momentum over the past months, which is great. And another information here to the community, I think I haven't shared it before, the council knows. So I'm currently working together with Bybit to extend TEL on the Polygon network. They currently only are listed for Ethereum. They already agreed that they are going to do so. So, and I'm currently figuring out the timeline with them, but it's a matter of when and not if. So I think that's a big plus if we can use both networks. So yeah, having that said, I would say besides Bybit and BitGet, KuCoin in quote, open to anything.
So it sounds like we do have, basically some decisions to make because we have this inventory that we could be using otherwise towards some other exchanges. And yeah, I think that definitely could be a little, we should do a council roundtable to determine those ones and where we can loosen up the budget for market making from those sources into the new ones. I think that's great. And yeah, I really appreciate everything you're doing and all the insights here.
Yeah, what you need to be very careful with is with transparency and communication, obviously. So if you decide to move forward and trim down liquidity on one exchange, you need to communicate it because people will get frustrated. I mean, their communities might be smaller, but that's definitely something you need to make them aware of. Yeah, because otherwise, yeah, people will get frustrated and yeah. Okay, so we have a question from Simon. How does it work with exchanges that make it don't provide liquidity for? Is it the case that tokens have to be transferred to them to provide liquidity? I've seen some pretty big figures for L-Bank liquidity provided by us for their fairly low volume. What are the effects to pulling their liquidity as an example? So, first of all, we're not only supporting, I'm sorry, the exchanges we've received loans from. So we additionally, for example, like I mentioned, are supporting KuCoin right now. We are supporting MEXC right now. We are supporting the DEX. We even, I think we did set up a new trading pair on the base DEX. But yeah, L-Bank, it's hard to compare liquidity to volume, right? So the liquidity in it is one thing and volume is another thing. Volume usually represents how many users are using the exchange. And for L-Bank, like I mentioned before, it's not that many people, right? There were different expectations in the past, but it's not an exchange where the TEL community is really active. Might be have to do that's it's a mainly Asian exchange. I don't know, I'm not sure, but like I mentioned before, that's something we can discuss if we can use some of these funds to move to a potential new or other exchange to leverage them and give them more potential. Yeah.
Yeah, really great input there. Yeah, I think it's probably the right move. There's another question for you about Bybit and the TEL USD pair. As Bybit transitions to becoming MiCA compliant from Telcoin General in the stream?
That's a really good question. So far, I haven't heard from them. That's really good input. I will definitely follow up on that. Could be what we saw on other exchanges with other customers is that potentially you have to replace the USDT coin with another stable coin, for example, USDC, which wouldn't be too big of a deal, to be honest. But I will definitely follow up and make sure we are on top of that topic. Thank you, Derek. All right. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. If there aren't any questions, we can open up the floor to any other questions the community has.
Dwight, I mentioned it earlier in the chat there, and I linked the, let's see if I can find it here, the forum discussion. I know Boujlou wasn't able to be here last time we had the meeting. He's here now and wondered if he could kind of talk about his proposal. I just reposted it again.
Sure.
We can depending on time, we can always ask to reschedule. Just putting that out there.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And if people have to leave, it's understandable. We've gone over time, but we want to, let's hear from him.
Absolutely.
Right.
I believe he's in the chat, so go ahead and unmute your mic and whenever you're ready. Or he was. Let me see. Well, as I'm not hearing from him, I'll send him a message and see if we can reschedule it for next week. But he was in the chat for a minute. But if I hear from him, I'll let you know.
Sounds good. Thank you, Derek.
And if I may, Dwight, I just noticed that Ari had asked a question, and I missed it in the chat, and I'm typing it out. It's hard to listen and type, and I got enough to say. I'd rather just say it. So the question is the amount for the audits enough to get us over the finish line to get to mainnet? And could we get an idea of what annually we might have to spend on these? So I based this amount. I got a quote from SphereBit. We've been working with them closely. We also gotten quotes from Sherlock and a couple other auditing companies. Specifically, I targeted this budget number so that we can work with these companies to get the focused private audits on specific smaller areas of the code base. And so I think that the amount is likely to get us across the finish line. A little bit of context, though, the industry best practice is to have separate audits or follow-up audits anytime there's critical or several high findings in an audit. And that's really because, anytime you can imagine a researcher coming in, they've got 1 week or 2 weeks, they've limited amount of time to find as many vulnerabilities as they can in this code. A lot of times they're going down rabbit holes. They're trying to create proof of concepts to imitate these attacks. And expose these vulnerabilities in a reproducible way. And all that is very time consuming. And so whenever you have a finding and then you have a patch and then the same people are finding it, it's kind of as similar as if you're trying to proofread your own paper or something like that, where you can kind of get lost in the context. And so based on our security experts' advice and a lot of the industry-wide best practices, it is important to have those follow-up and diverse researchers looking into your code if there is some big findings. So currently in our competition, we don't have any critical findings. We do have several highs. We'll see what actually ultimately ends up after the escalation process and what the final outcome is. Again, we're going to address all of those before moving on. But with that, we have these follow-up focused private audits already planned, and we certainly need more than one audit for the protocol. So no matter what, we're going to have more of these audits before we go to mainnet. But if for some reason there is, let's say we're getting the P2P networking layer really focused, and the team discovers some major issue, and it's a fundamental issue where we have to rework a lot of the code, that could force a second follow-up audit. Now we're writing tests to prevent that. We're doing our best to. Nobody wants to go into an audit and have their code with a bunch of severe and critical findings, etc. So, but in that case, that would require an additional audit. So, again, it's our intention that that doesn't happen, and that's where I've set the budget so that we could realistically have 4 to 6 really solid, focused audits, and depending on what comes out of the competition, I think that'll really help us clarify what we want to put in scope for these focused audits. And then ideally too, with the retainer and the other follow-up with the token price movement, et cetera, we'll be able to really evaluate, okay, do we need to have a full 6 days on this smaller chunk of code, or do we want 2 weeks to have on this consensus code, or the RPC, because this is publicly facing, and it would be really bad if somebody was able to take a hold of this part. So a lot of that is I'm waiting for competition results to have more clarity on that, because there's some things too where if we only have 100 lines of code that need to be evaluated, we could probably knock that out in 2 days. That's going to be a much cheaper cost. But the way that the cost and is broken down for the security firms is basically it comes down to lines of code equals the number of research hours to evaluate it, and the number of research hours equals cost. So that's kind of the formula that they're using for these particular quotes. And then on top of this, we do plan to have one more competition when we think everything is ready. Like we think we're rock solid, bulletproof. I would like to have one more public competition. May or may not be the same exact pot as what we have now, especially if we have like our current pot being $110,000 with a $30,000 set aside for a private researcher for the competition, and then you have a judge fee and whatever else. I think it's somewhere around 160K if we ran this competition again. Depending on where we're at and any particular follow-ups or hiccups throughout the audit process, we do have wiggle room there where maybe we can make the pot bigger, maybe we can make the pot smaller. So we have some wiggle room in the budget with these proposed numbers. And then finally, with the idea of annually what we might have to spend on those, I think a lot of that has to do with how many lines of code, what are the features that we're adding, what are we changing, what are we looking to support. I think if it is just a static, if we don't change a single line of code and it's just done, it is still good to every now and then have competitions. The pot doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a guaranteed pot necessarily either. There's another thing called bug bounty programs where you offer anytime a researcher can come out and at any time find a disclose responsibly a vulnerability in your open source repo, and the agreement is that they would have a reward for doing that honestly and professionally. So a lot of these kind of go into that those findings and that bug bounty as well. So I hope that answered your question. It's kind of a long-winded answer, so thank you for letting me just say that instead of typing it all out.
Thank you, Grant. So do we have...
It does look like Carl. Yep, Carl was able to join, so I will repost the... Carl, if you want to unmute your mic and you can present this, and I will repost this also in everything for everybody to see and click on.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Am I able to share my screen?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, give me 1 second. Well, while this loads up, my name's Carl. I work with Inc. Global. We've been in the travel media space since 1994. It all started with our relationship with American Airlines. We were the publishing house for the in-flight magazine American Way. That was discontinued in 2020 due to the pandemic. So they transitioned over to the digital advertising with the in-flight Wi-Fi. So anyone who's interested in targeting a travel audience, you guys are able to place a 15 to 30-second non-skippable video advertisement. We do have the ability to facilitate a global campaign. We could also do a nationwide campaign within the U.S. We have American Airlines, JetBlue, Air Mexico, which would be relevant to you guys, Azul, Brazilian Airlines, and a few others in Europe. Let me see if I can share my screen to show you exactly how your brand would be presented in flight. 1 second. All right, can you guys see okay?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, so this is a recorded user experience for one of our clients, Get Your Guide. I've personally worked with Bank of America, Amtrak, and quite a few others. So I'll press play here. Passengers, when they connect to the Wi-Fi, they're presented with 3 different brands to choose from. All brands are from different sectors. We guarantee competitive separation, so you wouldn't have to worry about being presented alongside any other clients or any other brands in your sector. I'll rewind here. So once the passenger selects a brand willingly, the non-skippable video begins. Again, it's 15 to 30 seconds. Great that it's non-skippable. Gives you guys a chance to fully grasp the attention of the passenger 35,000 feet in the air and fully receptive to your message. Once the video ends, we automatically redirect the traffic to a landing page of your choosing. So this can be a web to app download page. This can be your home page, really any website you wish. You could even create a custom site specifically for this campaign. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. Very simple, straightforward platform, but it's proven powerful nonetheless. A lot of our clients see a ton of value in the automatic redirection and the non-skippable video. I like to tell clients that this is a self-filtering platform in nature. People don't have to engage with you. And if they don't select your brand, we don't charge you. It is a free impression for you and the team. Any questions so far?
So let me just to get this straight. So basically, Wi-Fi advertising for all different airlines, like on their homepages.
Right. So we don't have to partner with all of the airlines. We can select specific ones. So if you only wanted to sponsor Air Mexico, we could do that. If you only wanted to sponsor American Airlines and JetBlue, we could do that. We could target strictly inbound routes to Mexico and use maybe a Spanish creative that you have, or we could target specific routes in the US. This doesn't have to be a nationwide campaign, although I can help you guys out better with the pricing if it is a nationwide campaign. But yeah, it's customizable to your liking.
I had a
No,
question just for.
oh yeah, you go.
Go ahead, Parker.
No, you go first.
Okay, I just had a question for clarification purposes. So, just so I'm tracking it properly, and if I'm wrong, please tell me. Is it essentially you have to go through this landing page and watch the video before you have access to the internet while in flight? Is that correct?
Exactly that.
Got
So
it.
we
Okay.
work on a what we like to call a cost per session basis. And to define what a session is, passengers must absolutely select Telcoin out of the 3 brands presented. They must watch the entire non-skippable video. And finally, they must successfully land on your chosen landing page for the campaign. All 3 things need to happen. If any one of those 3 things do not happen, we don't charge you, and it becomes a free impression. We did work with Apple. They promoted their Apple Arcade app through us, and their chosen landing page for the campaign was a web to app download page to encourage conversions.
Thanks for answering that. Parker, go ahead, and then Ari had his hand up too.
Yeah, first off, very, very impressive proposal and exciting. The only thing that the only comments I'd make is recently had some bad experience with the reliability of Wi-Fi in aircraft, so I wouldn't ever want our brand to,
Mhm.
be associated with any of the ones that don't work, which is very far outside of my ability to analyze. But the second point that I would make is just that, yeah, the Mexican Mexican airline style thing, especially, given that's one of the largest remittance corridors in the world. Um, I think I speak for a bunch of people in here that are all very familiar. 'Cause I think a lot of just Telcoiners are like sort of expats because we've been trying to solve this cross-border transfer business for a while, and we're just
Mhm.
there. So I think it's an amazing target market. And then the last thing I'll say is, as you're probably aware, Carl, we recently signed, or we're working with Storm Partners and stuff. I
Yes.
think I would definitely want to put you in touch with them and have them do some vetting of their own in addition to the vetting that we do.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Happy to connect with Storm. May I ask which airline you had a bad experience with?
I want to say, yeah, it was Delta for sure. I'll never forget.
Okay,
Never
yeah.
forget.
We do not oversee, we are not partnered with Delta. We do not oversee their inventory. So, with American Airlines, JetBlue, Air Mexico, etc., we get little to no complaints with the connection.
Ari, you had a question? Go ahead. Ari, can't hear you if your mic's on.
I did not have a question. I think Adam
Oh,
has
okay.
his hand up.
Sorry, I apologize. Adam, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, perfect. So I've got a couple of questions here.
Sure.
So firstly, how often is it presented to the customer? So for example, if you've got a flight full, I assume it's put in a rotation and then three from then are chosen. So would that be a 1 in 20 customer hit that Telcoin would appear? Or would it be across every customer on that flight that chooses to go onto the Wi-Fi? It would be guaranteed to appear. And then secondary would be, I see during the showcase you did 3 advertisements there. So would this act in the sense of like table positioning? Table positioning is a paid for thing, whether people know it or not. Position 1, 2, and 3. If you go to any affiliate sites, if you go to anything with a chart, majority of them are paid for. So is the pricing based on if you want to be the first on there? So it says choose an ad to watch. If you want to be in that first position, it costs more, or is everything in a set rotation for that to appear from?
Great question. We keep all brands on a random carousel to keep things fair amongst all brands that we work with. And as long as you're sponsoring a specific route, you'll be presented to every passenger who connects to Wi-Fi on that route throughout all flights on that route with your selected airline.
Okay, and do you mind me asking, from the rotation perspective, is there quite a few that it could choose from, or is it just a finite amount, or?
So typically it'll be 3. It'll always be
Oh,
3
okay.
brands to choose from. Mhm.
And that's, yeah, so that wouldn't be just randomly chosen, like you haven't got 20 there and it just chooses 3 there. It is select for that flight. It would just be between those 3.
Yes,
Okay.
it would be between those 3. We have an estimated inventory every month for specific routes or nationwide. Once that inventory runs out, we're unable to sell that inventory to anyone else.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm. but typically we land, if we're targeting specific routes, typically we land at $1 per session. So for every dollar invested, we're guaranteeing a unique visitor will select Telcoin, watch the entire video, and successfully land on your chosen website. And at an investment level of 150K plus, we're able to include a brand lift study with your investment so we can measure how well the brand resonated with the audience.
And I assume that we'd be able to put essentially what would work the same as an affiliate or referral link to it, so then we can fully track it. So it'd be a source or some sort of tracking.
Sure. Yeah, with your chosen website, I would encourage you guys to attach a UTM or a pixel to help with tracking. But I would, of course, provide weekly delivery reports that would contain your average daily click-through rate, the number of sessions delivered, the number of free impressions, and etc.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. And if you guys had specific events, conferences or events you wanted to promote, you do have an option to do what we call a takeover. So with the takeover, we would pause all other scheduled campaigns on that route. So just a random example, if you wanted to do a takeover for all inbound flights into Miami, Florida, just random, we can make it so that Telcoin has 100% share of voice and that they are the only brand presented inbound to Miami during your desired flight dates. So if it's just a 2-day takeover, a 3-day takeover, we could make it so that Telcoin is the only brand presented in flight when people connect to the Wi-Fi. Of course, that would be the cost of that increases due to us having to pause all other campaigns, but it is an option.
Parker, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to set expectations properly because I think this is an idea that it's looking at the comments and just thinking to myself about just what we are and our brand and who we're targeting. Like, I think it's a really awesome idea. I think given that we're setting up with this agency as we speak, a marketing agency, and we want to try and defer to them on these things, I think it's probably you know like it would. I think it's going to take at least a month or two before I would feel like. Storm moves fast and crypto moves fast too. So maybe I'm overestimating, but I just want to set expectations. I think it's a really awesome proposal, but we're going to need to probably run it through the funnel that we're currently setting up now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
Carl,
no.
are you a Telcoiner from before and just bringing the service, or are you, or did you find out about Telcoin and just saw the value proposition?
Yeah, so
Instead.
I invested in Telcoin. It was 2021, and then more recently, late last year was when I jumped back in and invested significantly. I'm a huge believer in the project, and I'd love to contribute to your marketing objectives if you guys think it's a good idea. But no rush. Whenever the time is right, I'm an email away or a message away.
Wonderful. Yeah, let's definitely exchange info with Storm, and yeah, that's awesome. Nothing better than supporting a fellow Telcoiners business that adds value to everything we're doing. So that's all I'll say. Talked a lot today. So
Yeah, no problem. I'll make sure to incentivize rates as much as possible for you guys. Of course, I want nothing but the best for you guys.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Really appreciate your time and presenting here to the community. Interesting stuff. So I think if there are no further questions, I'm not sure if I overlooked something. But I think we are done for today, right? Gio, okay, Gio raised his hand. Do you have a question or some input? Julio, or was that an accident?
No, sorry. I raised my hand just to highlight that we are also, I mean, we are also one email distant for every type of questions. I followed the presentation. I think it's interesting with the pros and cons about the Wi-Fi stuff, the investment plan, etc. So yeah, whatever marketing related, we're also one email away.
Great, thank you. All right, it's been a good session today. I hope I did my job well as a first-time host. Next meetings are the 24th of July, August 7th, and August 21st. So thank you all for attending. Thank you all for participating, and speak to you soon. Have a great rest of the day. And
Awesome
look
job,
at
Dwight.
Bitcoin, it's going bananas.
Good job, Dwight.
Good stuff, Dwight.
Yeah, great job,
Yeah,
Dwight.
great job, buddy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
We look at ourselves as the bridge between the traditional financial and the crypto world. So that's why we want to be the bank and issue stablecoin bank accounts directly out of your stablecoin. We all know about the breadth and scale of NWC, 100,000 attendees globally with phenomenal success. But I think it's the content and the engagement, the energy, which is vibrant, ebullious. But I think it's a melting pot of corporates, telecom, startups, especially this 4 years from now, where you have investors, startups, corporate, cutting-edge technology providers all under the same roof. That's phenomenal. We love it here.
We're wrapping up shop here at MWC 2025. It's been a super productive conference. We networked with a ton of mobile network operators, and the booth generated a ton of interest. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next conference.